Hello, my name is Kerioth, and today we're going to talk about how to deal with that guy. Now, just saying that guy, a significant number of you will already know who that guy is. Maybe that guy is someone that you run into at your local Games Workshop. Maybe that guy is someone that you run into at your local game store. Maybe there's a monthly event that you go to play Warhammer 40,000, and every single time you go, you see that guy. That guy is infamous. He's known far and wide. People talk about him all the time. But a lot of the time, I see people complain about that guy without actually knowing what to do about that guy, or even whether they should do something about that guy. Now, of course, if you don't know who that guy is, you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? Why do you keep saying that guy? I will describe to you that guy by recounting an experience that I had years and years and years ago. Many years ago. I don't even know how many years. When I first started playing Warhammer 40,000. I live in a relatively small town, growing but still small, and when I was much younger and I first started playing Warhammer 40,000, there was a local game store that ran a monthly event whereby a bunch of people got together and played Warhammer 40,000 together in a local community centre. It was mostly very nice. There were some good, encouraging people there. There were people there who played for fun. There were people there who played competitively. The ones who played competitively often played amongst themselves. And if they were going to play for fun, they would build up two different armies. They'd have two different lists. They'd bring enough models that they could do the competitive thing and just have a bit of a laugh as well. Because, frankly, a lot of us were only there for fun. We weren't there to... I say we weren't there to win. We were there to win. If we did win, that was great. If we didn't win, at least we had a good time. I mean, we had a house rule that if you were close enough to another table, you could fire your Earthshaker into someone else's game. That was one of the house rules for the little group as a whole that we had that played 40k every month. So it was not exactly the most serious of gaming events. We were just there to have fun for a good 8 hours, play some 40k. But there was one dude there. There was a guy there who had a bizarre habit of not only putting together the most competitive list he could possibly formulate for I think he had 6 armies in total. It was kind of hard to really judge how many he had because he quite often switched them out for other armies, so he'd just sell all of his models and build another army because that army was a little bit better. It made it hard to keep track of what he had, frankly, because it changed all the damn time. He not only insisted on trying to be as competitive as possible, whether he was playing with other competitive gamers, but he also liked to bring his own special interpretations of the rules, which could lead to some interesting situations. Not only that, but he liked to bring his own special interpretations of what stat lines meant, and what weapon strengths were, and what AP value weapons had. He would, essentially, just cheat. That, on top of trying to be as competitive as possible, meant that playing against him was often not fun. I remember a particular time where I had a bit of a Necron army going. He liked the look of the Necrons, so he got himself a Necron army, and I had no idea until he started playing that the Monolith, and this is like when Necrons had their first proper codex, not just like a White Dwarf supplement, their first proper codex. Back when you had the old Wraiths that were like a Necron warrior but with a long spine tail thing and shoulder pads, and that was about it. It wasn't much of a difference, and they were metal and a pain in the ass to paint. He had so many interesting rules for the Monolith that simply weren't in my codex. Things like the Monolith just being able to shoot at things up to 60 inches away, which I didn't know it could do. The Monolith being able to take a dead Necron squad, a fully dead squad of warriors, and just bring them back out onto the field. That was another thing the Monolith could do when he played with it. You get the idea. Guns were always one strength higher than you remembered. They had one more AP than you remembered. They had effects that you didn't realise they had, like, oh, well, that unit shot you, so your guys, they can't move 6 inches, they can only move 5. It was rife. It happened all the time, and he did it constantly to everybody. Literally everybody. Frankly, after a while, people just got sick of it, but the problem was that no one actually stood up to him. He never actually got told off. He never got confronted. No one ever said, no, see, you say that, but I know you're talking out of your arsehole. So either show me the codex and show me where it says that, or just play normally. It's entirely up to you. You can do either, but until you do one or the other, and in fact depending on which one you want to do, the game will either continue or one of us will walk away, most likely me. No one ever did that. And no one ever did it because it created an uncomfortable environment. People just sort of took it and went, oh well, he's that sort of guy. You know, it's just what he does. You know, if you don't want to play against him, don't play against him, because you know it's going to happen. There are multiple problems with that attitude, okay? If you are new to the hobby, as I was, now I kind of got away fairly easy, because at the time where he had his Necron Force, I hadn't played him until I got my Necron Force. I had one game against him, which somehow ended up in a draw, and I can't remember how, because it was however many years ago. And then the next time we saw him, he had a Necron army, at which point he refused point blank to ever fight me, presumably because I had the same army he did, and he couldn't tell me that the monolith had God knows what else on top of what it actually had, because I would go, look at that, it's in the codex that I also own. No, it doesn't. Back then, I never actually stood up against him. I never went, you're full of shit, don't do that. And I put that down to me being young, being like a teenager, like 13, 14, whatever. But the thing is, it still happens. I still see posts on Reddit, I still see people talk about it on Twitter, I still see people complain on the occasional Facebook group when I can be bothered to look at Facebook. And I'm sort of at a point now where it kind of baffles me that no one is just saying, cut that shit out, because it's a prime way to drive people away from the hobby. It's a prime way of getting people to spend the money and then never play the game again, because they buy the army, they go to the Games Workshop store, they fight against that guy who is there all the goddamn time, and they get just curb stomped. And they get curb stomped not just because they're new and because they have to be taught the rules, but because that guy invents rules. He just does what he wants. He makes up stats, he makes up rules, he does whatever the hell he fancies, because winning is the most important thing. Ignoring the fact, by the way, if I'm saying this and you're thinking, oh god, I'm that guy, realisation is the first step to improvement. Cut that shit out. But I would also say, on another note, whenever the guy that used to come to this group that I was in, years ago, whenever he won, and he won fairly often, because he just made it all up as he went along, whenever he won, I could never understand getting satisfaction out of that. Because the people he won against weren't like, oh, well played. All of them, because they knew him, because he had this reputation, just went, yeah, and then just moved on. There was no sort of, oh, good game, there was no congratulations, there was nothing. It was just hearing him talk shit, he wins the game, and the person goes, right, now we get to have a proper game. And that was it. Now, I get that you don't want to cause a scene, you don't want to cause a fuss. No one wants to be the guy that goes over and says, are you really sure about that? No one wants to be the person who interrupts someone else's game to say, I don't think that's right. But in some situations, there's nothing else you can do. And it's the only thing that can really be done to stop that guy from wrecking other people's experiences. Because at the very core of it, Warhammer 40k, whilst it is popular, it's not that popular. Whilst it is great, it's also still fairly niche. The actual tabletop is still not immensely popular. The actual universe, the lore is seeped out as a whole, and people who don't even play 40k knows what 40k is. But the tabletop itself is still not like an all-encompassing Goliath that can just replenish players constantly. It's a very kind of investment-heavy game. It requires serious investment of money. It requires serious investment of time to get to an army to a standard where you want to play it. Unless you're one of those people who just plays with grey plastic, shame on you. I say that, I haven't finished painting my bloody Primaris Marines yet, and how long ago did that come out? It's just very, very time and money investment heavy. You've got to put the effort in. And if someone puts the effort in, and then they're immediately faced with someone who just cheats, and that's what it is, it's just cheating, that person is not going to have a great experience. They're not going to come back, and the hobby loses someone who could, turn out to be really good, who could really get into the game. So, when it comes to that guy, I think everyone needs to reach the same consensus, which is that if you're in a Games Workshop, you see a new dude having a game with that guy, that guy says, oh, this Primaris Marine, his bolter is strength 6, you go, no, it's not. It's actually strength 5. And if they say, no, it isn't, you then say, well, can I see the codex? You can be even more polite. You could even say, oh, sorry, I overheard. I always thought it was, I didn't think it was that. You can correct people without being an arsehole about it. You can correct people without being confrontational. If you simply say, oh, that's interesting. Sorry, I overheard, and I thought it was actually less than that. I thought they only had this movement speed, or I thought they only had this toughness. Do you mind having a look at the codex? Now, if they say, sure, here you go, and it's wrong, then you say, oh, I see what you've done, you misread that. No, it's like, it's actually this. You get away with it. You get to say, you were wrong. The other person knows that they were wrong, and they can't pull it again. If they say, no, you can't have the codex. No, you can't look at it. No, you should get your own codex. Well, of course, the solution to that is to say, I don't know why you wouldn't show me that. If you've got something to hide, why would you not show me what's in the codex? If you're convinced that's right, then that's fair enough, but surely you wouldn't mind someone checking for the sake of developing their own knowledge. Surely you wouldn't mind that. If someone gets cagey, if they refuse to explain something, if they refuse to show something, if they won't allow themselves to be proven right, then 90% of the time it's because they're not right. Now, if they've made a genuine mistake, then it's easily cleared up, because you can easily say, that's fair. Hell, you can even say, oh, I thought it was that for a while, but then I found out. You can do whatever you need to do to diffuse the situation, to make it clear that this person, whilst they were incorrect, was not actively trying to pull some bullshit. But when it comes to that guy, the dude who just cheats, who makes up stat lines, who makes up weapon strengths, who makes up abilities, who misinterprets everything purely for the sake of winning, usually against people who have hardly played the game at all before, at some point you've got to just say, shut the hell up. That's not how that works. You know that's not how that works. Why are you misinterpreting that? And why are you doing it in this particular way? If the response is, I didn't know any better, then great. You can apologise, you can explain how it works, everyone can go about their day and be happy. If they refuse to answer, if they keep up the lie, and if they refuse to show you something that's in the index or in the codex or in the rules, well, the person that they're playing against, you now have free reign to say to them, I actually know this faction, I know these rules, I know these stat lines, he's lying to you, don't play him again. If you want a game, I will be here on this day, we'll set up, we'll have a fight. Go for that direction. But for the love of God, the number of times I see people who are like, I didn't know whether to say something. You say something. You always say something. Sadly, the local game store near me shut down years ago. There's no Games Workshop in sight in my area, which is a shame, genuinely. But I can honestly say with confidence that having had that experience when I was younger and just being like, oh well, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to have a go at the guy or say that he's wrong, because then things will be really weird. Fuck that. Don't do that. Just don't do it. Speak up. And it's especially bad because I've seen so many. The number of people I've seen who've said, "Oh, the guy in the Games Workshop store didn't do anything." I mean, you shouldn't have to do someone's job for them. But if they're in a Games Workshop store, this poor chap is getting, beaten down by that guy, and the manager is just standing there, and they're doing nothing. Say to them, I don't think he's getting any of that right. Can I have a look at one of the codexes? Do you want to have a look at one of the codexes? It can't be encouraged, it can't be just let go. I mean, I know there's going to be people out there who's like, oh, well, it's a very strange thing to take a stand on. Well, not really. If you're in any other situation whereby someone in a position of, not authority, but if you see someone outright lying to someone else just so that they can get one up on them, is your default reaction to go, oh, well, that'd be a bit awkward? Or is it to try and do something about it? Is it try to inform the person who's being talked down to, who's being lied to? I'd hope that it's you try to inform them. Annoyingly, in every single, I think in everything, you get them in things like Magic, you get them in, like, what's the other one? X-Wing and stuff. I've got a friend who plays X-Wing, and she absolutely annihilated some guy for just completely making up the rules. They crop up everywhere. That guy is not just a 40k phenomenon. It appears all over the place in all kinds of hobbies, all kinds of stuff. You kind of have to knock it on the head if and when you can, because they tend to get away with it for a long time. And the actual damage they do in terms of putting people off the hobby, making people feel like they aren't welcome in the hobby, it's kind of overboard, and it's something that it doesn't need as a whole. 40k, let's be totally fair, does not have the best reputation. It doesn't have the best reputation for the people who play it, who buy it. When you see, I say normal, when you see people who aren't involved in the hobby talk about going into Games Workshop stores for the first time, the number of tales of just like 18 sweaty dudes stood in the corner staring at the new person is kind of overbearing. Now, whether or not that's exaggerated or not, it just doesn't need the added crap of, oh, but when you get past that, there's some guy who's going to talk shit to you in an effort to win. You don't need that. 40k doesn't need that. There's no point doing it anyway, because what good is a victory that you have cheated to achieve? What have you actually proven by doing that? And that, I guess, that is the big question. I've never been that guy. I'm assuming most of you have never been that guy. If you are that guy, what possible satisfaction can you get from making your army more powerful than it should be by lying about stats so that you can beat people who are playing by the rules? What? This isn't Star Trek. This isn't the fucking Kobayashi Maru test or whatever the hell it is. It's just a strategy game. If you can't win without doing that, congratulations, you suck, get better. If you can win without doing that, why are you doing it in the first place? Maybe that's the question to ask them if you come across one. I just don't... It's a mentality I don't understand, and it's a mentality that is difficult to stand up to. It's difficult to actually face head on. But you should. Everyone should. Not just about that, about everything in general, but 40k being near and dear, that's the thing you focus on. So, rambly though it is, don't let that guy just walk all over people. Ask him what the fuck he's doing. Ask him what he's playing at. Ask him for proof, and if you can't provide it, tell him to fuck off. Basically. Thank you very much for watching. I have no idea if that was helpful at all. It might have just been me ranting for 20 minutes. But if you enjoyed it, then obviously hit that like button. I've been told that that's what you should do. You need to say the like thing. I always forget to do the like thing, so now I'm doing the like thing. So smash the like button, like a chaplain's crozier smashing an orc's head. I really don't like doing this bit. It's just garbage. I hate it. There's shit all over the screen. Click if you want. There's like subscription page on other videos. You know the drill. I say it every single time. The intro gets worse every time, but it's fine. I will see you for the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Toodaloo.